Hi, this is Kim, and I've been tasked with providing an intro tutorial to processing. If you already have experience with processing, this is probably going to be way too basic for you. But if you don't, this I think is a great way to start exploring it. And in fact, this is a page that I set up last year because Danielle Feinberg was coming to visit us, and she's done all these amazing things with Pixar. And so we did a workshop together incorporating processing with kids all ages. And we just really love processing. I do a little bit with my middle schoolers in my digital art classes. And then Zach Minster uses it quite a bit in his CSP, Computer Science Principles. And in week 2, he's going to be sharing some integration projects that use processing. So anyway, if you're not familiar with the processing, I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Uh, I'll be sharing this landing page with you, and you can watch this video, and there's just like really such creative ways to use processing. One of the reasons we love it is because kids actually are making things happen on the screen, and so they can like check their work right away, and it's very satisfying to be able to make things happen on the screen. So this first project I just call the face. And the way, when I'm introducing processing in the ways that I do it, I'm not really looking to teach the commands or the syntax or any of that. I really just want kids to get comfortable with the idea of command-based programming and to feel comfortable messing around with some of the things that they can mess around with. So I give them the code, and then they're going to mess around with it. And before we actually go into using the code, I'll just go through it with them together, maybe on a projector, just to see if they can guess maybe what is happening with the particular code. So this first code, it's function setup, what might be happening, create canvas, these numbers, sometimes they'll guess its size, and it's setting up the canvas for the image that's going to happen. And this is the X and Y sizes, pixels, dimensions. And then function draw, well, there's a clue, it's draw. And then stroke and fill, those are graphic design concepts, the outline and the what gets filled in. And then we have a variety of shapes here. And they can guess what these numbers mean. Very often they're not going to figure it out, but eventually you'll want to share with them that the first is the X coordinate, the second is the Y coordinate, the third is the width, and the fourth is the height. And in processing, the X and Y 0 coordinates are at the top left hand of the screen. And so if you're going across X, it's going to get positive this way. And as you're going down, Y gets positive that way. So that can be a little confusing, but that's the way it works in processing. Every language seems to have its own rules about whether X, Y is in the middle or up here. So what you're going to do is copy this code and then come into this P5JS editor. So this is an editor. Actually, the P5JS was created by an artist, and she started sort of this open source software. She's now got a lot of people that are helping her. There's a processing foundation around this. It's really kind of cool. So there's some code here, but I'm going to take it away and replace it with the code I did. And then you just hit the play button to see what happens. And so we have what could be the start of a face, but it's not situated correctly. So the challenge of this activity is exploring how you can move things around on the screen. And basically you have to move things on the X and Y coordinates. And then the second challenge is to start playing with colors. So if we go back now and look at this code, we see this first ellipse is 300 by 300, and all the others are smaller, so that must be the big circle. And then we have a rectangle, which is pretty tall, but not very wide. So there's that. And then we have the two smaller ellipses, which must be the eyes. So I'm going to start with the eyes. The X coordinate's the same, right? Because they're on the same X, but one is higher than the other. So this 200 is actually the one down here. So if I change that number to 100 and then press play, and I do have to press play every time. Now it looks like I just have one eye, but they're actually right on top of each other. So now I can start moving that X out. So experiment with that. It's getting better. And so, I might keep adjusting so it comes down a little bit more. And it's really funny, especially working with younger kids. They'll start, taking the mouse and trying to drag it. It's like, no, what's actually happening is you have to be coding that to happen. You don't just get to drag and drop stuff around. And then you want to get this. I mean, that could be a nose, but we want to get it turned around so it's this way. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. See if you can figure it out. And then the final thing we can do is play with colors. So we have this fill here. If I copy this line, and the way this code happens, it's going to happen in order. So if I add another fill here and just change some of these numbers around, sort of arbitrarily, press play again. All right, so the big circle stays the same and everything after that. And so then I can even make the eyes a different color if I put the fill there. So that's basically what you're trying to do there. I've also given you a color picker that you can go to. So we talk about RGB a lot, so red, green, blue. And these numbers in this program can go from 0 to 255. And so, for instance, that 255, 255, 255, that's everything on. And when everything is on, it's white. And when everything is off, it's black. So those are the things to experiment with that particular thing. And then the second project is draw it. So again, we might go through and see if we can figure out what's happening. We now know that this sets up the canvas size. That's probably the background color. We have another draw, but now we have if mouse is pressed, something's going to happen. We have some colors, and then we're drawing on ellipse now, but instead of specifying the X and Y, it looks like maybe we're following the mouse. We'll take that code over. Oh, and the thing we like to do, I don't really have them log in at some point. If you're doing more substantial projects, you'll want to do that. But you can always just take a screenshot of stuff and have kids share that way. And we'd love to see your screenshots. All right, so I'm going to draw that. Oh, look at that. And so now there's so many things you can do. You can be changing the size, right? So maybe that's too big, or maybe I want to make it not a perfect circle, right? I can do that. I could add, I know how to do rectangles now, so I can add a rectangle there and see what that's going to look like. But the thing I want to show you is, let's take this and copy it, except I'm going to switch this around. And then I want to have a different color for each. Let's see what that looks like. So that's pretty cool. And then there's one further thing that I share on color. There's a fourth number that can be transparency, which is kind of a fun one to play with as well. Yep. So when kids have done this, they have created custom brushes. Basically, this is how custom brushes get created. So, very little bitty circles that are making things happen. Lots of different colors. When you click the screen, it changes to this color, this color, because that's what it said to. So lots of different ways to play around with this. And again, taking a screenshot when there's a nice piece of art that you want to share. Finally, I have shared on here a reference. So this is where you can learn about other commands if you're starting to get keen on trying things out. This is especially great for trying out color stuff and shape stuff. So you'll see there's other shapes here that you can work with. And then the other thing is a beginner's guide to processing. So Daniel Schiffman is somebody who just is a tremendous resource for processing, and he has a ton of videos in a thing he calls the coding train. So it's a lot of fun. These are for college students, but they're also very accessible to lots of different folks. And then finally, there's an education portal from the Processing Foundation. And one of the resources that I'm going to share, but I'm still working on it right now, is I just interviewed Saber Khan, who is with the Processing Foundation, and he shares lots of resources in his interview with Once Upon a Tech podcast. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. You can see what some of the kids made during the Daniel Feinberg workshop. And we hope that you'll share some of your work on your Padlet. And good luck.